Against the Odds, Battle for Armageddon Scenario 1. This is a battle report of the game I played with my son from the Warhammer 40,000 2nd edition core box set scenario booklet, which is the Battle for Armageddon, which you can see depicted in this picture. This will be a fairly low-tech, low-key affair this time, and I hopefully will improve as we continue playing the campaign. I will improve the quality of things, the photographs, etc. But yes, I've used Battle Chronicler for the White Dwarf style battle report pictures, and I may be able to improve those graphically as well. Let's start, let's get going. So these are the armies. We've got 3 squads of Gretchin, 10 Gretchin in each, and Squad Lazarus, led by Sergeant Lazarus in the middle, and a Flamer trooper, a trooper with a Flamer. You can see the Space Marines have just been stripped. They're not painted yet. Maybe by Battle 2 we'll have some undercoats and base coats. The Gretchin I haven't addressed myself to. I have, I think, 60 Gretchin of that 2nd edition type, and I can perhaps paint some up for the future. We won't need those till Battle 3. So those were the 2 armies, and they're about 150 points each, basically, these 2 armies. I think the Space Marines are 161, the Gretchin are 150, technically. Deployment here. You can see on the left, we made a 6x4 collection of mats on the floor. Hopefully, I should get a battle mat one of these days. And you can see, I know it's hard to see perhaps, but you can see the Gretchin, and you can see the Battle Chronicler version on the right with the 3 mobs. I slightly screwed up the terrain deployment here actually compared to the map. I think some of the buildings on the left should be slightly differently oriented, left as we look at it. However, it doesn't really matter. It made a perfectly usable map. And you can see what my son did. My son deployed first, and he chose to put one of his mobs over on his right flank, a mob using his raised floor to get better views over the intervening buildings in the centre, and then left a gap, and then basically to cover if I deployed on my right, he put 1 squad in the building on the left. And then I put a Squad Lazarus up pretty much at the limit of my deployment zone. It is a funny thing, by the way, given how small a game it is, that the deployment map does suggest that you should use a 6x4. And what it does do, where you might say, oh, should I use like a 3x3? What it does do is it teaches you about movement and range in 40k second, and the importance of knowing that you're often running and foregoing shooting. It's like in fantasy having to march. Knowing that close combat will usually happen late in the day, 3rd and 4th turns only, because there's very few things that are super fast to do that. So yeah, Squad Lazarus is deployed there in the on the far left, behind that wall. Then we have these I didn't take photos. The first couple of turns I take photos of everything every half turn, but here at the end of Blood Angels turn 1, you see Squad Lazarus runs forward, and then the Battle of Armageddon. This is, by the way, this was very much my introduction to 40k lore. Was Ghazghkull Thraka versus Commissar Yarrick, and I have the 2nd edition era metal models of these that my Yarrick is damaged. I've got Makari too, and he sometimes is a goblin standard bearer in our fantasy games as well. And it came up in epic materials as well. It was generally something that was just big part of the lore then. And much more important, say, than the Chaos stuff, which became important during the 2nd edition era, but after I started collecting. Literally, I started getting White Dwarfs just before the 2nd edition, big metal raft of releases for Chaos, so Abaddon. So plot-wise, though, Horus is very important. The big bad on the scene was Gaz, and here you can see a battle. I don't see Makari. I mean, it looks a lot like Gaz, so I'm going to assume it's Gaz. And you can see there's a Titan, and there's some Imperial Guard fighting the Orcs. We have already seen, with the cover image from 2nd edition, we have already seen the Blood Angels fighting the Orcs and that is an Armageddon picture, as far as I understand. And the basic plot is that Gaz invades, and he takes over loads of Armageddon with this massive war, this massive multi-tribe, multi-clan war. and only Commissar Yarrick holds out. I think it's Hadeshive, isn't it? Basically, he holds out with Imperial Guard, and then the Blood Angels, the Salamanders, and the Ultramarines. I think are those the three. Again, correct me in the comments. They turn up to save the day, and that leads to the events of our campaign. Now there was a board game, Battle for Armageddon, which I think would let you do the whole of that. You know, at the fag end of GW doing normal board games. Gretchin turn 1, you can see what I'm going to use, I'm using the little explosions. You can see one on Squad Lazarus for being shot at. That is not wounds, that is just being shot at. So he gets a bit of fire in, and he moves one squad forward. And you can see, this is something I will master next time, is that he marches them out of that building in files of 2, because they align that way. I have not represented that properly on the battle report map, but I will be able to, because you can move around individual guys, so I will do that better next time. So far, turn 1 is just marching, moving around. There's no heavy weapons, there's no exciting vehicle things, so we're talking about a very, compared to a 1500 point game with artillery and psychers and everything, we're talking about a very, very quiet turn 1. Turn 2, Squad Lazarus runs again, and makes it into cover, and there is, they don't fire because they've... Gretchin turn 2, by the way, you can see there's a run marker marking Squad Lazarus there because they have run. And so they can't fire, they can't charge, etc. Or well, they could have charged or run basically in the same turn. But yes, you can see the Gretchin all move out, and all put. There's a bit of light fire on the Space Marines from who can see them. It is important that several Gretchin cannot see them. There's very limited shots. I think the left-hand 2 mobs can just about see a couple. The right-hand mob, we worked out, could not see anyone. But yeah, they either move or run forward. And now Blood Angels turn 3, and we start actually this very light, ineffective fire. The Gretchin, you're talking about like a couple of Gretchin from each mob firing, and there are a couple of wounds, but the Space Marine saves them quite easily. The auto gun is, I think the gimmick is, I think it is -1 save. I think it has AP1, we'd call it nowadays, but it's got it's got strength 3, so it's wounding on a 5. Versus Space Marines toughness 4. Space Marines are then saving on a 4. It's a limited weapon with a decent range, 24 range. That's the big thing, and I think it's +1 at half range or less. But the Space Marines finally get some fire in, and they shoot at Fergit's mob on the right, kill 3 of them, and you'll see it on the Gretchin turn. But they then instantly break. They make a panic check when they take 25% or more, and they fail. And they flee into the ruins. You can see they've got a broken marker. The run marker, by the way, which I've now removed, it was incorrect. They hadn't run that turn. You can see here, the yellow arrow is Battle Chronicles' way of showing it's a route move, and so they route. So they route in there, and the other 2 squads move forward and fire, and they kill a Bolter Trooper of Squad Lazarus. That's one thing, is though it's nominally running the Space Marines way at the moment. The points values, if the game ended now, because of what the objectives are, would be 1 point to the Space Marines, 1 routed or destroyed enemy squad, and 0 to the Gretchin. However, the kind of firepower quotient, losing 1 in 5, it may seem better than losing 1 in 3 squads firing. But because of the sheer accumulation of dice, I think there's a thing where big battalions matter here. It's painful for the Space Marine to lose every Marine. The Space Marines, by the way, rapid fires in their turn 3. Space Marines have a particular gimmick where they can fire their bolt weapons twice if they don't move. Which is quite fun. It's quite fun. Okay, I think I actually forgot to mention right at the start, my son did put 1 squad on Overwatch in case I'd run into its view, but I didn't, so they didn't get to fire. Overwatch is something you can, instead of moving, you can declare your whole movement. It turns them into Overwatch, which means they can fire in the enemy movement phase. So you can see here the Gretchin are closing in and have caused casualties, but I have at least made a dent on them. However, and the Gretchin failed to rally Fergit's mob. However, they will get another opportunity to rally in turn 4. Space Marine turn 4. Oh yeah, Imperial Heroes of Armageddon. Here's a couple of decent pictures. Here's the Armageddon Angels of Death. There is a video game. I do own it. I played like 9 hours of it, which is a like Panzer General or order of battle. It's a sort of unit hex-based, fairly abstracted, turn-based tactical or grand tactical. Very fun. You play a campaign there. But yes, I've got my Blood Angels there on the left, who are the most famous of the 3 chapters to fight at Armageddon in terms of their opportunity, their battle was at Armageddon. And then we've got Yarrick on the right, shooting a Storm Boy. This is the thing I love about 2nd edition 40k. Like, the models for the Storm Boys are absolute peak. The fact that they're rebellious young orcs, and so they're into uniform and organisation. And they go away for a while to rebel, and then they come back. But yeah, here we are, Yarrick fighting some off. Is that meant to be Gaz at the front or something? I don't know on that right hand picture. Space Marine turn 4. Here, yes, Squad Lazarus causes some pretty serious damage. This is based on line of sight. I've screwed up by failing to move them on the Battle Chronicler. My apologies. But you can see, as you can see on the picture on the left, they move forward, and this is basically to get into range of the flame. The problem was that the flame template is 8 inches, and where they were previously, behind the rear wall, was not far enough. I knew, because, and basically, though I hadn't measured, you're not allowed to pre-measure things. 1, I could eyeball it, and 2, because you know whether things are, you are checking for range to do with your weapons, whether or not they're within 8 or 12 or whatever for half range bonuses. You know if something's within 8 or 12 generally, because of wanting to know if things are at short or long range for the bolt pistols, bolters, auto guns. So I knew I wasn't close enough, so I moved them forward. That means they can't rapid fire, but it did mean I got a template weapon out. You can see on the left hand photo, as I say, it's the right hand one I've screwed up on, but you can see that one bolter trooper, actually the shot he has is on Scumboss's mob in the middle, and he fires and he kills one of them. That does not cause a rout check, because it's not 25%. But Grot's mob takes a lot of casualties. So the Flamer, I go first, and I think I am over 3 or 4 targets, depending on, I'm definitely over 3, because I kill 3 with the Flamer, and I think there might be another one who I failed to wound. But the point is that they're over the Grots. They kill 3. Now, one interesting thing, and it was something we briefly thought would be relevant, but yeah, versus templates, flak armor in 2nd edition doesn't have a 6+, it has a 5+. It's like shields in AD&D, which in some versions that sometimes get an extra +1. Large shields get extra +1 versus missile fire. So flak armor versus template weapons, and the Flamer is a template weapon, even though it is not presumably what the flak arm is intended for, that which is grenades and stuff, fragments, shrapnel. But yes, the point is, though, the Flamer, though it's only strength 4, is -2 AP. The 2 are separated for missile weapons. Strength does not equate to AP, that's separately listed. For close combat, if you're using your character's strength, then it does matter. But yes, it does mean that they didn't actually get a save, despite technically having a 5+ save versus a template. But they kill 3, and then Leadership 5, the biggest roll in the game, it turns out, more or less, it feels like at least, is they roll a 2. They need 5 or less, and they roll a 2 on 2d6, and they stay there. I then shoot with a bolt pistol and a bolter, and cause 1. That's only 2 shots though, because no rapid fire. I've sacrificed that for the Flamer, and only get 1 casualty, which does not cause another, because 1 out of 7 is not 25%, does not cause another casualty. So though I've killed 5 more Gretchin, so I've killed 8 Gretchin, and I've broken 1 squad. The heroism of Grot's mob out in the open, resisting a panic check versus a Flamer of all things as well, very terrifying. They managed to hold their ground. So I'm still technically up now, 1-0. Then we get to Gretchin turn 4, and you can see that Scumboss and Grot's mob move a bit. Basically, this is to clear their shots, so they are firing against as little hard cover as possible. They've been firing often either angling to not have hard cover, which I think usually Scumboss's mob has tried to avoid firing against hard cover, but like you can see this wall, that is -2 to hit, so they angle themselves as much as possible so they can all fire without hard cover, and they kill 2 more members of Squad Lazarus. They kill the Flamer Trooper, actually, and another bolter, because he's the nearest guy, and a bolter guy. That means that the Gretchin have earned 1 victory point 2. Now, Fergit's mob can rally and therefore give the victory to the Gretchin, but they don't. They fail their leadership check, and so they stay hiding in these ruins. I have to roll a panic check for my Space Marines when they take 2 more casualties. That's 50% casualties, and they fail, which you'd think, oh, that means they're going to be destroyed, because you said routed units are basically the Space Marines. If you destroy half of them, that's 1 point, and if you destroy all of them, it's 2 points total for the Gretchin. So surely that would mean that the Space Marines would be destroyed at the end of the game. The game is about to end. They won't have a chance to rally. They don't have another turn to try it in. However, Space Marines, as well as Rapid Fire, have a rule called Know No Fear. They shall know no fear. It basically means they have to fail 2 consecutive panic checks or equivalent checks to break. They are shaken. There is not a shaken marker. There is a broken marker, but there is not a shaken marker. So I just used the red underside of a flamed marker, and they therefore hold. The surviving 2, Sergeant Lazarus and his 1 remaining trooper, they hold, and that means that because Fergit's mob don't rally, it's 1-1 at the end of the game. It is a draw. Now, because we're playing a campaign, this is the only close-up shot I got, and I think I'll definitely do more in the future, is have more close-up shots, because I think it looks better. As I say, a battle map would also look better, I grant. We may also try to improve our terrain, inspired by Miniscape and Minisodes. But yes, we had to roll for each casualty you have to roll, if you're using it as a campaign, on the campaign table, which is 1 to 2, they're dead, 3 to 4, they're seriously wounded, don't take part in the campaign, we'll get back to that, 5 to 6, they're knocked out, and they can come back for battle 3. Now, if they're grots, they're at -1. If you've won, you're +1, you hold the field, you can recover your wounded. There's also a reinforcement table, which we slightly misunderstood, which we'll get to, but yeah, for the casualties, the Grots mob, which had heroically held, lost 1 dead, 1 seriously wounded, and 2 lightly wounded. Scumbozz's mob in the centre, which had initially been firing from the heights and then had come out to get a better angle, 1 lightly wounded, and Fergit's mob, 1 seriously wounded and 2 dead. So they broke, and they probably because they'd taken the most casualties of everyone, they're taking 2 dead. And Squad Lazarus, the 2 bolt gun marines were seriously wounded, and the Flamer marine was lightly wounded, which means he'd be back for battle 3. Now, because we're going to play the 4 battle version up to the battle bunkers for the White Dwarf issue special edition, it does. What I said was the seriously wounded characters will come back for battle 4. So you can see that 1 member of Grot's mob, 1 member of Fergit's mob, and 2 members of Squad Lazarus will come back for number 4. But they will be missing in battle 3 when all these units are used again. We also rolled in the reinforcements because I've just misread it. I just looked over it, read it properly, and completely misunderstood it. Sheer stupidity. And basically, this suggests that after each battle in a continuing campaign after battle 3, you should roll for reinforcements. So you might get a battle wagon, you might get 10 more orcs, you might get 20 Gretchin, you might get a Space Marine Dreadnought, that sort of thing. However, we rolled then, and we rolled, my son rolled a war boss for his orcs, and I rolled a captain for my Space Marines, and what we decided once I realised my error was they will come in battle 3, which is a big battle, so I think it fits more. Battle 2 is another fairly small battle, 5 versus 15, 5 Space Marines versus 15 orcs, but we thought we'd bring them in battle 2, and battle 3, sorry, and then we'll roll again, I think, after battle 3 for who comes in battle 4. We'll add reinforcements for that as well. I don't have a rogue trader or a battle wagon, and they are very pricey, but I do have Gorka Morka orc trucks, so that means that I have an equivalent of everything on that list. For the orc dreadnought, I do have a more modern Death Dread, but I will actually use the cardboard dreadnought that I have from the original 2nd edition box set, unless I can get a 1st or 2nd edition era dreadnought, both of which I like. I like the rogue trader dreadnought for its kind of flatness and its chubbiness, and I like the 2nd edition dreadnought. It's quite characterful, isn't it? It's quite jaggedy. But yeah, there we go. That was battle 1 of our campaign. We will continue and play again probably next week, but we also play Age of Sigmar weekly, so there's limited game time, but we'll probably play next week, and we'll play scenario 2, which I believe is called High Ground. Thanks for watching.